Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am Sean Anderson, Most Valuable Podcast, and the upcoming segment is from our full Fast Break podcast that we recorded. And if you do want to check out that full podcast, head over to Blog Talk Radio /The Fast Break. You'll be able to find the full podcast over there.
This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson, and nobody's alongside me. No Ricky Widmer, no Dave Oster. This is an emergency podcast. Last night, DeMarcus Cousins was traded to the New Orleans Pelicans, blowing up Twitter, blowing up r/NBA on Reddit. It was a huge move. It blew up our group chat, even though Dave was sleeping. Absolutely huge move. DeMarcus Cousins is now on the New Orleans Pelicans. It has been officially announced both by the Kings and Pelicans. I believe the league approved it. This is going to be a David Stern CP3 kind of situation where he denied the trade to the Lakers back then. It's official. DeMarcus Cousins is now on the Pelicans. So now they have Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, two of the best bigs in the league. Arguably, you could say the two best bigs in the league. And in a guard-driven league, the Pelicans are getting huge here. So we have a lot to talk about, both on the Pelican side, the King side. We'll be discussing the trade, and also, I first got to mention this because on Friday, when we recorded the Fast Break podcast, we talked about what superstar would be moved. What superstar could be moved at the trade deadline. I think we talked about Jimmy Butler. We talked about Melo, obviously, but I think we left out DeMarcus Cousins. And we did this because on Thursday, I think it was, DeMarcus Cousins came out to say that he wants to retire as a Sacramento King. He wants his jersey in the rafters. He wants to be a part of Sacramento. And this was kind of pushed by Vlade Divac as well, the GM of Sacramento, where he backed Boogie, where he said they're not going to be trading DeMarcus Cousins, where they're not going to be looking for a trade for DeMarcus Cousins. 2 days later, they're on the phone. They're looking for deals. They're talking to the Lakers. They're talking to the Pelicans. They're talking to every team in the league to try to move DeMarcus Cousins. I don't know what the hell happened, but now DeMarcus Cousins is on the New Orleans Pelicans, and we'll talk about the deal first because that's kind of the most important thing, and I know most of you guys are probably heard it, but the Pelicans received DeMarcus Cousins and Omri Caspi from the Kings. The Kings received Buddy Hield, Tyreke Evans, Langston Galloway, a 2017 first-round draft pick that is top 3 protected, and a 2017 second-rounder. And to me, it's clear who the winner is here, and it's the Pelicans by far. I mean, you acquire a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, a guy who, like I said earlier, is easily one of the best bigs in the league, arguably probably 1A or 1B if you want to put Anthony Davis there, who he's now teammates with. You can also put in Cat, Jokic in there. But right now, I would say DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis because they have that they pretty much have proven it throughout their career. I mean, 4 straight years of 20 points and 10 rebounds these two are averaging. So I would take these two as the best bigs in the league. Now they're on the same team. It's a crazy dynamic. And then when you look at what they've given up, you give up Buddy Hield, a 23-year-old rookie, where a guy at similar age, Bradley Beal, is putting up ridiculous numbers in Washington. You can make the argument that Bradley Beal hasn't been in the NBA longer. He's had a longer career, but still, Bradley Beal's putting up insane numbers at the same age where Buddy Hield's getting off to a slower start. He's not as young as these other rookies. You know, Ben Simmons is 19 years old. Brandon Ingram's 19 years old. Jamal Murray, 19 years old. Buddy Hield's 23 years old, and for a guy that's already poor defensively, has struggled to find his shot. I know he's found it a little bit in the past couple of weeks with the Pelicans, but now you're adding on moving to a different city onto this kid. It's a lot to deal with for this rookie that's already struggled a bit in his first couple months in the NBA. So Buddy Hield, a guy that Vivek Ranadive kind of views as this next Steph Curry, that's a lot to ask from this kid. Then you also have Tyreke Evans in the deal, reacquiring Tyreke Evans, won the Rookie of the Year, I think it was back in 2009 or 2010 with the Kings, then went to the Pelicans. Now he's got a lot of injury issues. I think his contract's up at the end of the year, so it might be just something where you're acquiring this contract, so the Boogie deal does go through, but still, I mean, Tyreke Evans isn't going to be able to bring a lot to your team, and that's probably what the Kings want because they do want a higher draft pick. And then you also look at Langston Galloway, a guy that was on the fringe of being cut from this trade. They ended up cutting Matt Barnes, so we'll see what happens with Langston Galloway. I don't think he's going to get more than 10 minutes a game, probably even less than that there. Then you also have the 2017 first-round pick that's top 3 protected. How are you the Kings and you're not able to get the Pelicans to fully give up their 2017 first-round pick. It's insane to say that the Kings even won this trade at all. This is a complete blowout trade, because now if the Pelicans don't make the playoffs and they somehow pull off the Bulls back in 2008 and win the lottery with a 0.8% chance, then they get the number 1 pick. They get DeMarcus Cousins, and you pretty much gave DeMarcus Cousins up for Buddy Hield, Tyreek Evans, Langston Galloway, and a 2017 second-rounder. I mean, it's ridiculous what the Kings got back. It's pretty much ridiculously pathetic what the Kings got back. For DeMarcus Cousins, a guy that, again, is a top 10 player in the NBA, a top big in the league, a guy that I know has character issues, and we'll get to that a little bit later when I talk about Vlade Divac, but he's still a guy that's giving his all out on the court. He's a guy that, he wants to stay in Sacramento and hasn't had coaching support behind him, hasn't had the front office support behind him. It's ridiculous to say you couldn't get more than that. You couldn't get something from Boston where you did get a Jaylen Brown, where you did get that first-round pick, or you did get future first-round picks. You only got 1 first-round pick, and this might be a pick that isn't even a lottery pick. The Pelicans might make the playoffs now with this move because they're not too far back of the Nuggets. They might make the playoffs, and this might be a pick in that 17 to 25 range. I don't know exactly where it will be, but it could be from 15 to 25. I doubt they're going to win the finals, but looking at this, it's insanely poor what the Kings got back here. Insanely poor for DeMarcus Cousins. What you brought in for DeMarcus Cousins, it's pathetic. And I don't care how highly Vivek Ranadive thinks of Buddy Hield. It is pathetic what the Kings got back from here. Pelicans won this one easily. And now you're talking about DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis paired up. And this is a big combo in my mind since David Robertson and Tim Duncan back in San Antonio. It is insane the skill that these two have. DeMarcus Cousins, a guy that has been able to stretch his range out to beyond the three-point line, shooting around 36% from 3. Anthony Davis just dominating inside. He's a guy that also has shown some range, not going to be too efficient from 3, but at least can stretch it out to near the top of the key. These guys are very mobile, very agile, both good defensively. And the thing is, now you're pairing these two up, and I don't see anybody in the West that can stop them at all. Really I'm just saying these two specifically now on this team, and I think the only ones that you can really make the argument for is probably DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin over in Los Angeles there, because you look at the Warriors are a stacked team, but defensively, who's going to cover Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins? Zaza isn't going to be able to stop DeMarcus Cousins. Kevin Durant or Draymond Green isn't going to be able to stop Anthony Davis as effectively as you want them to. I know how good Draymond is, but still, if you go with the small lineup of Draymond and Kevin Durant is your 4 and 5, this is going to be something you can bully the Warriors on. And I'm not saying the Pelicans have a chance against the Warriors in a series, but I think they can win a game. If Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins go off like they can, or Anthony Davis has scored 50 points before in a game, this is the problem that the Warriors had against OKC last year. I know they had Durant, I know they had Westbrook, but when you look at the way that series was changed, it was changed by Cantor and it was changed by Adams. And now you're looking at this for the Pelicans, where you're going to have at least this Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins duo for another year and a half. That's going to give you one offseason to at least entice some free agent to come over and just make that big 3 that you need in today's NBA. And now if you get a decent bench behind that, and you have Drew Holiday, you have DeMarcus Cousins, you have Anthony Davis, you have Omri Caspi, who at his highest has shot 40% from 3. You have guys like Solomon Hill, who's good defensively. There's a lot on this Pelicans team that can give some team trouble. You look at the Spurs, they might give the Spurs trouble. I'm not saying they'll win a series against the Spurs. I'm not saying they'll win a series against the Warriors, but they will at least give them trouble. And if you want to talk about parity, this trade kind of, put the Pelicans' foot in the door. I'm not saying they are going to be going deep. I'm not saying that they're going to be, atop of the Western Conference, but they at least have a chance to ruin that parity. Because if DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis are at their best against the Warriors, they could take that to at least 6 games. I think Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins can bully Zaza and KD and Draymond down low, where they'll be able to just bully their way inside, shoot around 60% from the field. They are on their best. They can beat up the Warriors down low. I don't know if Drew Holiday is going to be able to take over a game guard-wise and score himself. And I know 2 guys can't do it alone. But still, this puts the Pelicans in the door, and this is a splash that they made because you didn't really give up that much. I think Buddy Hield was a good rotation player, but I didn't think he was going to be a star in the NBA. I look at that 2017 first-round pick. If you make the playoffs, that's not even a lottery pick. You're looking at guys like Luke Kennard. You're looking at guys like Grayson Allen. You're looking at guys overseas internationally who might not be ready for 2 to 3 years. You're looking at guys like Jared Allen, who he's a big. You don't have a game-changing guard in that draft class. And if you do, it's guys like Dwayne Bacon from Florida State. It's guys like Jared Blossomgame from Clemson, guys who were like Buddy Hield, who are in their 3rd or 4th year in college and really haven't been able to make that much of a splash. I mean, these are guys that are going to be rotation players. You're not going to get a franchise changer from that 17 to 30 mark in this draft. From that 16 to 1 range, you might be able to, because there's a lot of depth in this draft class. But if I'm the Pelicans, I'm looking at this and you're just looking back at this trade and saying, how the hell did we do this? And keep that pick protected. It's insane now that you have Boogie, AD, Drew Holiday, Solomon Hill, Omri Caspery. I mean, there's guys on this team that can make up a team that can go deep in the Western Conference Finals, and you just need more pieces. You need to add more pieces, and it sucks that you gave up that draft pick for this year, because you're not going to be able to add some depth, but you might be able to sign somebody that can really push this team further. And if you're able to move the contract of a Zeke and you're able to push him out of New Orleans, free up some cap space, because if his cap hits around like 9.9 a year, you'll be able to add someone depth-wise, because I think Drew Holiday is a guy that can be a part and a future part of this team that could go deep in the playoffs. I mean, he's having a career year right now, scoring 16.3 points per game, shooting 39% from 3, shooting 46% from the field, averaging 7.5 assists. He's been everywhere for the New Orleans Pelicans, and him and AD are making a great combination. He's only 26 years old. Now you're looking at a core here of DeMarcus Cousins, who's 26 years old. You're looking Drew Holiday, who's 26 years old, and then you're pretty much your best player here, Anthony Davis. He's only 23. I mean, as long as this team can stay healthy, those three can be the building blocks of a championship team. And I think that you obviously need more depth. You need one more guy who can be who can really have the ball in his hands and change the game. But if you're talking Drew Holiday, Anthony Davis, and DeMarcus Cousins as 3 of your 5, I think you have a pretty nice mold there to push something towards a championship. And you have something with Solomon Hill coming off the bench. There's a lot of pieces there that I do like. And there's even talks that they might be moving a guy like Terrence Jones to kind of get a guard in here and at least try to help the playoff push and get into the playoffs here for the Pelicans. And I think it's super smart what the Pelicans are doing. You're showing Anthony Davis that you do want him here. You're showing Anthony Davis that you're not afraid to make moves. You're showing your star player that you're not afraid to take some risk. And I think it's a bold move from the Pelicans, but I don't think it's a dumb move. I don't think it's a bizarre move. I think it is a bold, smart move here for the New Orleans Pelicans, because you're going out and getting Anthony Davis. I mean, you're getting DeMarcus Cousins for pretty much 50 cents to the dollar. I mean, it's ridiculous what they got in here. Now, this core is looking stacked. It's looking absolutely stacked. But now, the one thing I do have to look at, again, is who are you going to bring in? And is Alvin Gentry the real coach of the Pelicans that can take you to that next level? And I'm not really sure about that. I know he had some success in Phoenix. He had that team that had 45 wins and went to the playoffs with Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire. But outside of that, I haven't seen a lot out of Alvin Gentry, a guy that I have said should be fired because, again, it's not the GM and front office's fault solely. I think Alvin Gentry really hasn't done much as a coach in general. I don't think he's a guy that's going to be able to take them to that next level. So if I'm looking after the season, I'm looking for Alvin Gentry to be moved because this front office showing that they want to make moves. I think Gentry is not this guy that's going to be able to take you to the next level. So there's a lot of moving pieces here in the Pelicans, and we'll talk about it more on the Fast Break this upcoming Friday, how good the Pelicans truly are with this team. But if I'm looking at this, the Pelicans won immensely. Good on you, Pelicans. You're helping the city of New Orleans here. You're putting a team forward that at least is very interesting on paper. I mean, we haven't seen a big dominated league in a while, and now they're pretty much flipping the script and saying, well, if you're going to go guard heavy, if you're going to go Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, we're going to counter that with DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis. If you're going to go and spread the floor, we're going to be able to really use our bigs down low and just beat you up. So it's very interesting what the Pels are doing, and we'll talk more about it on the Fast Break. But again, I think the Pelicans won this one immensely. Pelicans won this deal, and good for Boogie because he says he wants to stay, and then he gets dealt two days later, and he's been dragged through the mud consistently by the Kings. And now there's just that question for the Pelicans: will DeMarcus Cousins resign? Because his agent said, I believe it was before this trade even happened, that if a team does end up acquiring DeMarcus Cousins, he's not going to look to resign with that team. But if the Pelicans do make that move and do at least talk to him and get into negotiations and they're able to re-sign him and you'll have Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, that is a scary team, especially with those guys being so young, 26 and 23 years old, respectively. That is a scary, scary team. But they have a year and a half to get in those negotiations. They do have, after this year, they can start that negotiation for an extension with Boogie, but they will still have a year after that. Kind of like the KD situation where KD could have re-signed. I'm sorry, OKC fans to be bringing this up, but he could have re-signed after the 2015-2016 year, did not do that, and then obviously pulled up and went a year and then signed with the Warriors. So they will have at least a full year of contract negotiations with DeMarcus Cousins, and they're confident they could re-sign him. I don't think they would. I don't think they would not be confident in re-signing him if they were going to trade for him. So I think it was a very, very smart move for the Pelicans. Even better move if they could re-sign him too. But let's now move to the Kings because it kind of plays into this Boogie thing where he says he wants to stay. He says he wants to get his jersey hung in the rafters. Vlade Divac saying 40 minutes before the trade even happened that we're not going to trade him to Boogie's agent. And then he's moved. He finds out at the press conference of the All-Star game. One of the reporters shouts out, All-Star questions only. And Boogie's like, what other questions would there be? And then there's a PR guy, and he comes up and pretty much tells him the news that he's been traded. And Boogie's like, he's kind of shocked at first. He's like, oh, really? And then you kind of see a smile on his face when someone says, well, how was your All-Star game experience? He's like, I love the city of New Orleans. I love New Orleans. And he does kind of feel, I think at least, and I don't know this. I don't know DeMarcus Cousins, weirdly enough. He's not on speed dial, but it looked like he was, first off, shocked, and anyone would be shocked in that situation. Vlade Divac saying, we're going to keep you, we're going to keep you, we're going to keep you, and then you're traded after an All-Star game where you're pretty much just trying to enjoy the moment. But then he kind of has this kind of relief I saw on his face, and maybe I'm just talking out of my ass here, but this relief of, finally, I'm out of Sacramento, and finally I don't have to deal with Vivek Ranadive, and finally I don't have to deal with Vlade Divac because we weren't going anywhere in Sacramento, and this trade does not say that Sacramento's going anywhere. And one thing that today in Vlade Divac, and he said this in his press conference, he said something along the lines of that character matters. Character matters. Vlade Divac in the press conference today said character matters. And I know DeMarcus Cousins has had all of the ejections, all the technical fouls, some dirty plays, but nothing like Draymond Green kicking people in the nuts. Character matters. Utterly ridiculous coming out of Vlade Divac's mouth. A guy that has just told DeMarcus Cousins 2 days earlier that we're not going to trade you. 2 days earlier, we're saying, DeMarcus Cousins, we're not going to trade you. Going behind his back, talking to the Clippers, talking to the Lakers, talking to the Pelicans, talking to every other team saying, hey, what can we get you for DeMarcus Cousins? What can we get? What can we get? What can we get? Utterly ridiculous. 40 minutes before the trade even happened, saying to DeMarcus Cousins' agent that we're not going to trade DeMarcus. We're not going to trade Boogie. And then you go and trade him. Character matters. I don't know about you guys, and I don't know about Vlade Divac, but I was raised to not lie to people, to not go behind people's backs, to be upfront with people, because if you're not, that causes problems. And then going out and having the gall, having the balls to go out there and say character matters, that's why we traded him. Character matters. What a joke. We haven't heard anything coming out, and the Kings haven't leaked anything out of any character issues that happened the past 2 days. I don't remember anything that's changed. So you've gone from 2 days saying, Boogie, we're going to keep you, to saying now character matters. What the fuck happened in those 2 days where character now matters? Rajon Rondo last year was swearing at the refs, calling him a gay slur to the ref who is gay, and nope, character doesn't matter. You're still on the team. It's ridiculous. Darren Collinson, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Darren Collinson did have some domestic violence stuff. He was suspended for 8 games. He's still on the team. Ty Lawson, you signed Ty Lawson after his immense DUI record, and I'm all about giving people second chances, but if character actually matters, then why the hell was DeMarcus Cousins on your team for 2 years? If character matters, what happened in these past 2 days? And from what we know, nothing has happened. Nothing. DeMarcus Cousins was in New Orleans. DeMarcus Cousins was at the All-Star game. DeMarcus Cousins was representing the Sacramento Kings, a team he's been representing his whole career, but now character matters. And again, I don't know if there's some story that's going to come out saying DeMarcus Cousins got into an altercation in New Orleans, but I think by now that would have happened. What character issues just came up in the past 2 days? Why are you lying to the media? Why are you lying to DeMarcus Cousins? Why are you lying to your fan base that loves Boogie? Some might hate him, but some, and I would say most, do love Boogie. Why are you lying to them and then going behind their back and making one of the worst deals in NBA history? It's a joke what the Kings are. And we've talked about this before. And it's really, you look at what they've done year after year in the NBA draft, year after year, not being able to bring in free agents. Why would any team, any player really, want to go to Sacramento? Rajon Rondo went there because of character issues. Ty Lawson went there because of character issues. Two guys that you wanted here because they weren't accepted anywhere else. They weren't accepted because Rajon Rondo had his altercation with Rick Carlisle. Ty Lawson had 4 DUIs. All of these guys come to Sacramento for, you could say, second chances. They come here because there's no other options. Sacramento isn't that nice of a city. You know, it's really nice down south of Sacramento in LA, both Clippers and the Lakers. You know what's really nice? Miami, South Beach. You know what place you can really make a market in? Los Angeles, Chicago, New York. Not a lot of guys want to go to Sacramento. Name the last huge free agent signing that the Sacramento Kings had. Can you think of any? Because I can't. I can't think of any of them. So where do the Sacramento Kings go to get their talent? Where do they go? They go to the draft. And let's take a look at what Vivek Ranadive, the owner of the owner of the Kings, and what Vlade Divac has done. Vivek took over in 2013, the investor. Vivek Ranadive, former, I think he had shares as well with the Golden State Warriors. But let's see what Vivek has done since 2013. Let's see what Vlade has done since 2015. Let's see, the first pick for the Sacramento Kings, guard out of Kansas, Ben McLemore. What has he been? Nothing. Let's go to the next pick, 2014, first round, 8th pick out of University of Michigan, guard, Nick Stauskas. What has he been? On the 76ers. Next pick, 2015, first round, 6th pick, Willie Cauley-Stein out of Kentucky. Hasn't been bad. Has shown a lot of athleticism. Now he'll get more playing time. But let's think about the Kings team. Who did you have in Sacramento? DeMarcus Cousins. What position does DeMarcus Cousins play? He plays the 4 or the 5. What position does Willie Cauley-Stein play? The 4 or the 5. Ridiculous. So you're not getting any ball handler help because Ben McLemore at best is a shooter, but he's not that good of a shooter. Nick Stauskas, not a ball handler, not a guy you can give the ball in his hands. He's a shooter. You have Willie Cauley-Stein, guys that are not going to help DeMarcus Cousins, get the ball in his hands and take off scoring pressure. Willie Cauley-Stein is a great rim protector, great defensively, but he's not going to be able to put the ball in like DeMarcus Cousins can. Nick Stauskas is a guy that really can't create his own shot. Look at any year that he's been playing in the NBA, and Ben McLemore has never been anything special. And then you look at the last pick that they had, 2016, first round, 8th pick, Marquise Chris. But wait, they don't have Marquise Chris on their team. They traded him. That's right. Okay. All right, so they traded the power forward. That's fine. That's a smart move. Who do you take? 2 more power forwards. Georgios Papagiannis, who is a complete reach at that point. We've talked about that already. Papagiannis was a 13th pick. 13th pick where I had him mocked, and I'm not saying I'm a mock expert, but I had him mocked in the 2nd round. Then you look at Scalabrine at 28, a guy, again, power forward, a guy that had some issues coming out of college, a guy that fell drastically from a top 5 pick early on in that season to 28th. It's ridiculous looking at what the Kings have done in the draft. That's the only place they've been able to build, and now they acquire more picks, and you get the 2017 first-round pick that's top 3 protected. You have your own pick as long as that stays in the top 5. If that stays in the top 10, that doesn't go to the Bulls. So you might have 2 first-round picks, but I don't trust the Kings enough. They picked up Buddy Hield in this trade because it reminds Vivek of Steph Curry. Buddy Hield reminds Vivek Ranadive about Steph Curry. He said Nick Stauskas is a mixture of Steph, but with Clay's body. What is going on in Vivek Ranadive's mind? What is going on? The Kings are the worst. the worst run NBA franchise. And you might be saying, Sean, you said that 2 weeks ago about the Knicks. And let me first off apologize to all Knicks fans. Let me apologize to James Dolan. Let me apologize to Phil Jackson. Let me apologize to Carmelo Anthony, because the Kings have done nothing ever. And I tried to defend them that they could have gone to the finals back in 2002, 2003, but the refs were on the side of the Lakers. But still, look at this team. They have done nothing with a lot of top 10 picks. A lot of top 10 picks. Let me tell you, you have 5th overall, Thomas Robinson in 2012, at 2013, 7, 2014, 8, 2015, 6, 2016, 8, 2011, 7, 2010, 5, 2009, 4. The last time you had one that was outside of the top 10 was 2008 when you picked Jason Thompson out of Rider University at number 12. So since 2009, you've had a first round top 10 pick every single year. Every single year you have had a shot to pick a franchise changer. You did pick one once. It was DeMarcus Cousins. Now he is the reason we're talking about the Kings right now, because you couldn't keep him on your team. You couldn't keep a stable organization around him. You couldn't keep a stable coach around him. You couldn't keep a stable roster around him. Mistake after mistake after mistake. And you might be wondering, you're being too hard on the Kings. But even with Vivek gone, or even before Vivek, they were making mistake after mistake. In 2011, when they did end up picking, well, they picked Bismack Biyombo, they ended up trading him. They ended up with Jimmer Fredette and John Salmons. Who was right after Jimmer Fredette? Let's wonder. Let's see who was after Bismack Biyombo, because they had the 7th pick. If they didn't have to trade him, they picked up Bismack Biyombo with the 7th pick. Who's behind him? Kemba Walker, Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler. There were players out there that were game changers. Even in that draft, you pick a game changer. You pick Isaiah Thomas with the last pick. He's off your team because you can't come to contract talks with him. You can't come to a contract with him. God, I can't talk. Then the next year, 2012, 5th overall. Hey, we have Tyreek Evans, who's been hurt. We have DeMarcus Cousins, who's a great low post player. We should get someone to pair with him, at least from the guard standpoint. Nope. Let's go to a power forward out of Kansas, Thomas Robinson, with the 5th overall pick. Who was right behind him? Damian Lillard. Weird. Maybe you should have put Dame. I know he was out of Weber State, but still, looking at this, it doesn't make any sense standpoint-wise. Does not make any sense when you're building a team like this. Let's go to the next year, 2013. A significantly low draft class. Best player out of that is Giannis Antetokounmpo at 15. No one was taking a shot at him really outside of the Milwaukee Bucks. So I'll give you a pass there, but let's see. At 7th overall, you picked Ben McLemore. Who was right after him? CJ McCollum. Who was right after him? Michael Carter-Williams. Both guys, CJ McCollum probably better, but really Michael Carter-Williams hasn't been bad this year at all. You look deep down in that draft, you can find guys that can at least push forward your team. What did Ben McLemore do for your team? Absolutely nothing. Nothing to push your team forward. Let's go to 2014. Let's look at the draft picks then. Vivek's already taken over. Number 8 overall, Nick Stauskas. Who's after him? Well, you have a starter now for Peyton, point guard. That would have helped DeMarcus Cousins. Let's see. Zach LaVine, shooting guard from UCLA. That would have helped. Ball handler, very athletic, could help driving into the paint and dish it out. I know he's not that great of a ball handler like Ricky Rubio is, but still a guy that has more potential than Nick Stauskas, who was just turned into a spot-up three-point shooter. Then let's go to 2015, the NBA draft. Let's see. Where were they? 6th overall. They picked Willie Cauley-Stein, like we already previously mentioned. Willie Cauley-Stein, again, a good player, a lot of athleticism, but it doesn't fit the mold of your team. You know who would have? Devin Booker. That would have been great. Maybe we'll put shooting around DeMarcus Cousins. Maybe we'll put a guy who can create his own shot next to DeMarcus Cousins. That just makes too much sense in my mind. Maybe we take a chance at Emmanuel Mudiay. I know he hasn't been great this year. He's been struggling, but still, you put him with a guy like DeMarcus Cousins with ball handling skills, maybe that makes your team better. Maybe I'm just out of my damn mind. Maybe. But I think I'm going along some logic compared to the Sacramento Kings and what they've been doing. And then again, let's just look at what's happening here. They trade Marquise Chris, a lot of athleticism, a lot of, showing this year so far in the NBA, what do? They go out and they trade Marquise Chris. They go and get Georgios Papagiannis, who, again, has done nothing for your team. And then you go and get Skal Labissière, who, again, has done nothing for your team. And then you can question, well, the guys are still young. And yes, they are. But still, you draft two players who play the same exact position. Skal can play that center position or stretch four. Georgios plays that center position. But both those positions are played by DeMarcus Cousins. It makes no sense in the grand structure of your team. I look at the Kings and I just see a team that has just been completely run into the ground year after year. And it's not even Vivek's fault. It's not even Vlade Divac's fault. It's just consistently poor decisions in the draft, in free agency, in trades. They cannot get anything going. And I feel bad for Sacramento fans. I honestly do. I feel horrible for Sacramento fans because you don't want this to be happening. You look at any reactions from Kings fans, and they all know they lost this trade. It's clear that they lost this trade. DeMarcus Cousins is a franchise changer. You're going to go out and talk about character issues. And I know I'm hopefully bringing this full circle, but Vlade Divac, you're just pushing free agents away from Sacramento. If you say to Boogie, hey, we're not going to trade you. Hey, we want you here. We want you, DeMarcus. We want you on our team. DeMarcus even going out and saying, I want to be here. I want to retire as Sacramento King. I want my jersey in the rafters. And then you go out and trade him. Agents take looks at that because if a guy goes and signs in Sacramento and thinks, hey, I'm going to be here for 5 years, I can settle my family, and then in 2 years he's already gone. What does that say about you? What does that say about your franchise? It says that you guys do not know what you're doing. It says that we cannot keep a team stable. It says that we cannot keep a franchise stable. Sacramento is in ruins right now. It is in complete ruins. And Vivek, on his Twitter, let's see what it says. He's a proud father. He's the owner and chairman of the Sacramento Kings. He's a philanthropist. He's an entrepreneur. And he's an investor. He took an investment in the Sacramento Kings. He took an investment with a smart product and smart prospect in DeMarcus Cousins. And what has he done? He's seen this stock tank and tank and tank and tank because he's seen shooters and he's seen guys in college that can make big shots like Nick Stauskas and Ben McLemore. And he was with the Golden State Warriors and he's looking for that next Steph Curry. So who does he go out and get? In his mind is the next Steph Curry in Buddy Hield. Watch out, Lonzo Ball. You're going to be in a Kings jersey. It's pathetic what the Kings have been doing. And you go out and say character issues, and you go out and put down the guy you just traded, and you say to him that we're going to keep you, and then you go and trade him. It's putting Sacramento in ruins. So, clear winner for me here is Boogie and the New Orleans Pelicans. It's a joke of what the Sacramento Kings have become. Hopefully you like this. It's my first solo podcast. I've had to stop and start many times, but we've gotten through it. 30 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Next Friday, well, this upcoming Friday, we will have talk about how good the Pelicans are. We'll maybe touch on the Kings a little bit, but I think I kind of talked about them enough here. But we will have more coverage on the DeMarcus Cousins trade. We'll be covering the Pelicans' hopeful rise to the playoffs this year. It will be interesting to see. But yeah, clear winners here, for me at least, are the Pelicans and DeMarcus Cousins. Tell me what you think of this trade down below in the comments. If you made it all the way to here, thank you so much. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much again. You got us to 5,000 subscribers. We cannot thank you enough. We're not stopping there, though. So thank you so much. If you do want to like this video, please do. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, for putting this on Blog Talk Radio, thank you for the download. Thank you for the listen. We appreciate it very much. Ricky and Dave will be back Friday. I will still be here, hopefully. And King fans, I'm sorry, but we'll see you next time. Thank you. Oh, shit. Oh, it's just one of our videos scared me a little bit. Don't forget to check out that one. And also don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.